Engine 1 from car 1. Car 1's on scene. If you've been command, give me a CAN report.
What's going on, everybody? This is Mike Goldstein, Stickers of the C.A.N Report, Nozzle Top, everybody. I have a wonderful guest with me this evening out of New York. He is on FDNY. We have Jon Kasouf, and I'm excited to have him on. We met, we were supposed to meet in Idaho, but we actually met in Maryland at the Key City Fire Conference. And we hit it off. I got to see what you got to do for training and what you're bringing to the table. And I really wanted to have you on and talk about who you are and what you're doing. Jon, thank you so much for being on the C.A.N Report.
Thank you for letting me come on the C.A.N Report.
Yes, sir. My pleasure. I love having like-minded individuals and just talking about the job and what we can give to others. Before we jump in, I'd love to just thank my sponsors. You have Engine House Designs, LLC. Engine House Designs is a firefighter-owned company out of Tennessee, Cody Hill. He is my man. He makes my hats. He makes shirts and stickers and flags. And if you have a company and you need to get anything made up, he's got it for you. He has top quality service. He does it all in-house. And he's been killing it. And he also has a podcast as well called Engine House Podcast. Make sure you look that up. But I really appreciate what Engine House Designs is doing for the fire service. And he makes, again, quality products. And so make sure you are hitting him up and see what's got going on. Also, I'd like to give a shout out to my other sponsor. They're fairly new, Industrial Protection Services. I really appreciate them very much. This episode is sponsored by Industrial Protection Services. IPS equips firefighters with the tools, gear, and support they need to perform on the fireground, serving departments across New England. And with that being said, that's it. That's all I got. So, Jon, I want to jump into your bio real quick here so we know who you are. You cool with that?
Absolutely. Send it.
All right, man. Here we go. So Jon started his fire career as a junior firefighter at Central New York Combination Volunteer Paid Fire Department in 2001 as a freshman in high school. At 18, he became eligible to be interior. First few years, he was always in a classroom, growing his knowledge and joining night or doing shifts in the firehouse. In 2012, he was told if he wanted to be useful in the fire service to get his EMT. So he did just that. He started testing all along the East Coast. In 2014, he applied to be EMT with FDNY. In 2015, he joined the FDNY as an EMT, assigned as a dispatcher out of the academy, transferred to South Bronx, promoted to firefighter in 2017, assigned to Manhattan Engine Company in 2021, transferred to the latter company, joined FDNY with such a culture shock for him in the best ways. In 2021, he started Big Apple Fire Tactics to pass on his experience and knowledge to those eager to learn through social media. That then has turned into developing classes based around his experience and to build up the fire service, making it better than he found it. Love it, man. Very, very cool. Thank you so much for that bio. And thank you so much for being on this evening. Jon, what's going on?
Yeah. Well, we were supposed to be last Sunday, just Father's Day. And I was like, oh man, Father's Day, that's going to be awesome. But, change of events, some unforeseen circumstances, and rescheduled, and here we are now.
That's right. Yeah, it's always rescheduling. There's always something going on, right? It's life. We got to roll with the punches, and we made it happen, and we are here. So, Jon, man, tell me honestly, why the fire service? Why did you want to become a firefighter?
Well, it was mainly like a family business kind of thing. Not that I was the first career fireman in the family, but my mom, my brothers, my dad were all volunteer firemen in Central New York. I kind of followed suit, and I was bit by the bug very early. I mean, I'm talking like I was 5, 6 years old. My dad brought home the air pack. I wore it around, crawling around the garage, and I'm like, this is it. This is what I want to do.
That's awesome.
And then ever since then, growing my knowledge.
And you definitely hit the ground running, it sounds like. And you, like you said, you got the bug and you just loved it. And what was some things like, was it just the family culture that really got you involved and ingrained with it? Or is it as soon as like maybe you got your first whiff of an actual structure fire, is that what just really, that sparked it, if you will?
I mean, we would like any big fire I grew up just in the suburbs of Syracuse, for those that may know, paid department, pretty decent size. So anytime a big fire would come over, my family would buff it out, and we would head over there, check it out, and just watch the guys scrambling, running around, doing their thing. At the time, I had no idea what they were doing, but they were, you know, doing their thing, doing what they had to do, and then just from there, it just blossomed. My dad bringing home the air pack. Like I was always going to the firehouse, hanging out, chilling with the other volunteer guys there, and I was like, I just want to be around this forever.
That's awesome. And when you're talking in your bio there, you have to take a lot of steps to become a firefighter for FDNY. So you just don't just become a firefighter. It looks like you have to go through certain levels, almost like a video game. You have to go through certain levels to master it. So describe that tier that you had to scale.
Well, you can either do EMS, but now they've changed it to where you have to do like 4 years of EMS. You can take the promote. You still got to take the CPAT, all the regular steps, but you're on a separate list from the open competitive, which is the way that I went. And then on the outside, you're taking the test with like 60, 70,000 other people from all over the world are taking this test. Gosh, I was doing EMS with a guy from Seattle, and he was on both lists, so he was just waiting for whatever list called him first. But if you're doing it the other way, you still gotta take the test, you gotta pass, I kind of want to say you gotta get like 100. If you don't get 100, kind of, it is what it is at that point. But then, your psychological, the CPAT, there's you got to meet with the investigator. You're always submitting documents that they want.
Yeah.
Like when I was trying to get on EMS, I think I drove down to the city 4 or 5 times. And at the end, they're like, you could have just faxed it. But, I was dedicated. I didn't want to mess anything up or miss a step.
Sure.
And it got me to where I am now.
And you mentioned that you had to be in dispatch for a bit. Is that something you chose to do, or they choose it for you?
Some people choose it. My academy was straight to dispatch. And then from there, after you do some time there, they'll let you transfer out. So I chose the South Bronx. I had some friends in a South Bronx EMS station. So I transferred to them, and I did a couple years there before getting called for promotion.
What was it like being a dispatcher for that department? Like, because I love dispatching. Being a dispatcher myself, I have an immense respect for it. It's not easy. So you got to wear that other hat. So I imagine you have the same appreciation for it.
So you start with call taking. So it's like nonstop all day, every day. Like you can see the run numbers. I think EMS is nearing 2 million runs by themselves now, 1.8 million, somewhere around there. It is hectic, crazy. Everything that you could think of, someone will call 911 for, they will call 911 for. And then when you do some time there, you can go and become an actual dispatcher where you're dispatching the ambulances to their emergencies, which is now you're like, that's a whole separate game.
Yeah. So did you just do the ambulance side of it, you said, or did you get to move up to fire?
Fire is its own test.
Oh, okay.
I'm not sure if they're union or civilians or whatever their case is, but yeah, they're their own list, their own separate thing now. They can now promote from being a fire dispatcher to fireman now.
Gotcha.
Just open that route up.
And so you did that for 2 years as a dispatcher.
About 2 years, yeah, with call taking and dispatching time.
And so then you got to test for firefighter, and you got it. Correct? It was, you talk about as it being a promotion. So, and that's I think pretty interesting is that it's a promotion, not just you got the job, but you got promoted into that position.
It's a promotion, yeah.
Yeah.
Some places will, a lateral or a change or a change of title. Some places are promotion from firefighter to EMS. But yeah, the testing guidelines are still the same. You still have to be, 29 years old. You couldn't have reached 29 years old. You still have to take all the regular tests that everyone else will take. Just you're on a separate list of just EMS.
Gotcha.
Which I almost didn't make that list because the list filing opened a month before my birthday. So
Oh, okay.
almost
And
was
then
not a fireman.
and then you got assigned to Manhattan Engine Company. Talk about that. What was that like? That's gotta, I mean, it's gotta be a dream come true for one. What's it like working on the engine company in Manhattan?
Um, well, being the little buff that I was at the time, I knew a handful of engine companies and ladders where they were. So they're like, this person, you're going to 64 engine. This person's going to 66 engine. And I'm like, I know where 64 and 66 is. And then they're like, oh, you're going to 65 engine. I'm like, where's 65? I've never heard of that. And it's right in Times Square, Midtown Manhattan, crazy busy. Like it was like 6,000 runs a year, just the
Wow.
engine. Um, when I got the number or the address, looked it up, shot there, and this is like one of the oldest firehouses in the city. So like it was almost an honor to be part of that company for that just alone.
Yeah.
It was built in like 1898, I think it was. So it had, the spiral staircases where the horses didn't want to go up. It had this, you could tell where the stables were in the back of the firehouse. It was awesome. But to like be like, all right, you're an actual New York City fireman, you're gonna be responding to fires now is like I woke up years like I made it. This is it.
Yeah. Especially all the hoops that you had to go through to be part of that is gotta, I guess you just never take it for granted, because we all know that standards have changed. We've had, departments have had to, I hate to say lower their standards, but on some places they do because they need the staffing. And unfortunately, we don't have a lot of people coming through the doors in the American Fire Service. And there's places that desperately need people. So there's certain things that they drop. And with that, I guess the position comes easier. Right. Like maybe the probation shorter. That's how they get people to come in, or, you don't have to take a physical test now, or, there's certain things that come with it that they subtract so they can get more people in. And then I think with that is the people who do that or get it in a little bit easier don't realize how good they got it. And so they start to forget how much they wanted this because it came easy. As you had to literally spend years trying to get on this department. So I imagine anybody who has spent years trying to get on one department, you're never going to take that for granted.
Yeah, I mean like I knew what I wanted, so I was willing to put the grind to the stone for
Yeah.
the and just do what I had to do to get the job. In the beginning, I was like, I just want to be a fireman. It doesn't matter where, I don't care. Just get on the job. That's the hardest part about this, the fire service is just getting on the job. But once I got on FDNY and then realizing like, man, this really is like the best of the best. Not that our standards have changed or anything really has changed too much. The probation is still the same. It's still 18
Mhm.
months. I mean, unless, you have some extenuating circumstance that extends it. But it's like, you're right. Some people do take it for granted. Like when they get on the job, they don't realize, man, I could be somewhere else making, $30 an hour. No union, no union representation, no this or that. Like whatever our department offers is bar none like the best.
Yeah, absolutely. And also because again, you are on FDNY where the world knows that department, like, it's amazing. It's gotta be an amazing feeling to just literally wear that badge and have that patch and have that tradition and legacy of being on the biggest department, that on the East Coast here, and just that notoriety. And how do you not let it go to your head? How do you not let that, uh, with that status symbol, if you will? Because it's easy. Like I was thinking about this today. I was driving home, and I think it's good that we all have an ego. I think it's good that we are confident, because we should be confident in our skills. We should have a swagger to us when you start developing your skills years in, right? I'm not saying for rookies, because we all know not yet, they don't know how to do everything. But 15 years, 20 years in, you're going to develop a bit of a swagger. You're going to have that a bit of an ego and that confidence because you've you've done so much and you acquired so much knowledge. So you kind of have that way about you because you know what's coming next. But I think there's a good line though you have to walk because you don't want to be overconfident and you don't want to be egotistical.
Yeah.
Because then people are just gonna think you're an asshole.
No,
So
I mean, there's plenty of those guys around. Don't think that it doesn't happen.
it happens everywhere, and that's what I'm saying is that it's a difficult line to walk, but especially when you're on an amazing department like you are on, it's got to be difficult to not walk around. Your head's out here because you're doing this job and on this department that people idolize. I mean, there's TV shows and movies about this department. So how do you not get that kind of that head to you?
Well, like when I joined the fire department, in Central New York, it was DeWitt Fire Department at the time. The one guy that I kind of latched onto is like, never forget where you came from. So that's kind of what kept me grounded this whole time because, they're a 3-man engine. They're busting their balls just as much as us. I mean, they may not catch as much work as FDNY, but they still grind like we do. And, there's no ego to have there. They're not, like you said, they're not the FDNY. So I never forgot that I came from a small time department. I was a nobody there. I was probably an asshole at one point. And I just, I never forgot. So I just keep myself grounded, and there's a line that you got to walk, and it's okay to cross it every once in a while, but as long as you teeter back, and you're not going way far off over the end and turn into that asshole, like you said, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's absolutely right there. Staying grounded, being humble, getting humbled brings you right back to earth. I mean, it happens to me quite often where I get humbled and have to realize like I need to get back down again. And I've got earth is down here and my head was up there. But when you get to do as much as you guys get to do, it's got to be an incredible feeling for that. So you got to do the engine work in Manhattan, and now you're on the truck company, correct?
That is correct. Yeah.
And so what was that transition like? Was it fairly easy or was it a lot to learn after that?
Like coming from, it would have been easier if I was in a double house, so an engine and a truck. But I came from a single engine in Midtown that dealt solely in high-rise commercial buildings, mainly with some hotels sprinkled in and a few, like shelter type places. But we didn't really have that many, as we call them, class 3 buildings, so not like non-fireproof. But when I transferred to the truck, they were, 75% non-fireproof, brownstones, tenements, that kind of stuff, with a few high-rise buildings sprinkled in. But the learning curve of the truck is immense. Like the engine, you EMS, stretch lines, put out the fire. If we got to do like a technical rescue, the engine might hop in there to help package the patient. But like the truck, is extrications. We're doing, man under the trains. We're getting under the trains, getting dirty with, potentially live third rails there, which, are whatever thousands of volts. We're getting in the holes. We're going over the sides of buildings. We got to do the roof rope rescue, climbing ladders, putting aerials up. And then the truck chauffeur is its own position. So like there's really like 5 positions to learn on the truck.
What position are you?
So that's kind of dealt with day by day.
Okay.
So like if you're on overtime, you kind of pick last. We're like a gentleman's club. So we'll be like, we'll go in seniority order. So we have 4 seated chauffeurs, as we call them. So those guys, when they come to work, they're always driving. And then after that, time picks whatever they want. So the irons, C.A.N, OV, and roof. Usually roof is like least desirable, so the guy in overtime gets that. So then, if you got time, you get first pick, and then if you're the junior guy, you get whatever's left over.
Nice.
But, we all rotate. You don't pick the same position for a 24. So, you'll pick the irons for the day tour and the OV for the night tour, or whatever, whatever you wanted to do. But you're like that guy if you're like, oh, I'm going to take the irons for a 24.
Cool. So what is it, the shifts that you work? Because I really, honestly, I do not know. So what's the hours? What is the shifts that you guys work?
That's everyone asks that, and I'll show you the app, and it's very confusing.
Because I remember you showed it to me once before and I got
And
lost in it.
yeah, it's two day tours as we call them, which is 9 a.m. to 6 p.m.
Okay.
and then a 24 off, and then two night tours, so
Okay.
6 p.m. to 9 a.m. and then you got 2 or 3 days off after that.
Nice.
And then
Okay.
you can do mutuals with the person that kind of lines up opposite you. So if you're doing the day tour and there's a guy that lines up with you on the night tour, you can mutual with him. Swaps are readily available.
I bet. Dude,
There's,
I was just thinking as you were talking, like it must be insane because you know that there's people in your department, you have no idea who they are. Like you
uh,
haven't probably met half the department, right?
I mean, there's guys coming into the battalion that you don't even know are in the same battalion as you. There's a full roster, and each company is 25 guys. So each, engine has 25, truck has 25. And then there's however many firehouses in your battalion. So that's a couple hundred per battalion. I mean, there's guys in neighboring battalions that I've never seen and I'll never
Right.
work with. But yeah, there's I forget the actual number, but it's like 8,000, 9,000 uniformed firemen.
Yeah. Yeah. And then of course, then you have your specialist divisions as well, mechanics and dispatchers and,
Yeah.
everything else to go along with it, fire marshals. Like it's just, it's impressive of having a department that size to run the way you guys do and to get stuff done. And um, what's it like now that you are using your experience? You developed your company, Big Apple Fire Tactics. What's that like now to take that knowledge and experience you've gotten and now you're bringing it to the table for everybody else to enjoy?
At first I was scared to how they would be receptive of how I teach. But everyone that I taught at the March Mayhem and Key City, and everyone loved it. You know, it was a that was a culture shock for me. Like how coming from upstate New York to FDNY was a culture shock from the way FDNY handles training. Not how we handle training, but how some guys view training.
Sure.
To going to these conferences to teach and how they view training. If they want to go, balls to the wall for all 8 hours, 16 hours, however many hours you're teaching a class. And then at the end, they want more. And it was like I ran out of things to do like 3 hours ago. I'm just trying to fill up some time here, guy. Let's help me out here.
Yeah, because
But
when I saw you at Key City, you're like, I'm running out of things to do. Like these guys don't stop. Like they're constantly going, and been really run out of time as well. Like you guys, like everyone else is cleaning up, and these guys are still going. So that's why like you hit on that. Like it's really cool when you go to these conferences, these training events where there's the people that are there. They're there to learn. They're there to work, and that's what's really cool to see. And I'm always impressed when I go to that, whether it's myself training or others, to just watch them just put in 120%, and they come back the next day. If it's a multi-day event, like their next day, they're right there, bright and early, ready to rock. Even if they're sore or tired, they want to learn more. They want to do more. And it's cool to see them take what you were giving to them and they were running with it. And you put them through some hard evolutions too. Like you definitely didn't make it easy. I mean, that
no,
forcible entry that you put them up against, that was pretty difficult itself. So you were doing high rise operations. You're
uh,
doing
yeah,
FDC
standpipe stuff.
operations, standpipe operations. So why did you, first off, what does Big Apple Fire Tactics offer? Let's go with that. What is some of the classes that you offer to people?
So right now I have a game plan, a set thing for standpipe operations and a truck company. Like first do search operations, kind of like getting ahead of the hose line, kind of like being aggressive, as they say. But that's more to get you comfortable knowing that the hose line's coming, but it's not here to protect me. The standpipe is, there's hardly anyone really teaches standpipe operations. And as you can see, probably in your area, even where I live in the, the suburbs of New York, there's high rises popping up with standpipes, and there's a lot of ill-equipped, not trained guys trying to figure out how standpipes work. So with my experience in the Midtown Engine Company and the truck company, which I still work in the engine every once in a while and catch fires in high rises, passing my experiences and the knowledge that I have from that to uh, pass it on to the other guys that hopefully they can pass that on to their department. I mean, hopefully they, a little repeat customer would be nice, but
Why do you think that, especially for FTC and sandpipe operations, why do you think people get confused in it? Or do you think they get confused or lost in the operation side of it? Do you think is it not a well-known skill yet? Is that the reason why? Or again, like you just hit on, like a lot of people, especially in rural areas, don't have them, but it just seems like there's a lot of moving parts. I think people get lost in it. Is that accurate to say?
yeah, I mean, cause you gotta get the pressures right. If you don't get the pressures right, you're not gonna get, the good streams. Um, it's a lot of like, big on, I follow Instagram a lot, and I just saw a department that had high rises for a long time, but now they're just like, oh, we just developed a program for standpipe operations. I'm like, you've had, high rise buildings for 20, 30 years. I think you should have had something in place before. So I'm trying to get ahead of the ball and give the guys confidence.
Yeah.
Because, when you go into something, especially if the first time you're touching something that a fire, you're going to fumble, you're going to mess things up. Then that just cascades and snowballs and does not end well. And unfortunately, we've had line of duty deaths, and a lot of them were in high rise buildings, and a lot of them were water problems.
Mm-hmm.
So being able to circumvent these things with, the things that I can teach you how to fix or correct, could save you someday.
Do you think that's why you hit on it so much, is because it's an area that has a larger gap than, again, we have a lot of engine classes. We have a lot of extrication classes. We don't have a lot of tech rescue classes. I'll go with that. I do think though, like, especially for high rise operations, we were doing better with that. I mean, Brent Brooks, right? Like, he's amazing. Like what he does for his classes, right? HROC and County Fire Tactics, they got a whole week devoted to high rise operations.
Yeah.
But do you think there's not enough educators out there doing that certain skill?
I think,
I should also preface it with, do you think there's not enough like seasoned, experienced instructors bringing that knowledge?
That's probably the biggest one, is that you got guys going on YouTube and watching a YouTube video and then trying to teach their department based off a YouTube video. And, sometimes that doesn't correlate. I know I put a lot of things on Instagram, and I'm hoping that it kind of like, you can connect the dots and make it easy. But the pool of, I would say qualified people for standpipe operations is slim compared to the engine companies and the truck companies. Like, everyone wants to teach forcible entry. Everyone can teach forcible entry. But I think the people that are worthy of listening to, I don't want to put them on a pedestal, but I'm saying, like, hey, you can take this guy's word as, as it is what it is, as for standpipe operation.
Sure. Absolutely. And you, like you said, you also put on Instagram too, and you have your Instagram channel, and you do talk a lot about ladder operations as well, like setting up ladder operations and getting outriggers placed and everything else. And so you're offering those services as well, that education. So do you also offer a ladder ops class, or is it more of the high rise operations, that type of stuff?
I would say that it's not worthy of a conference yet, but if you come to me and say, hey, how do I do this? Or can you come here and show me, some things? I could do that. But I don't want to put myself out there. Not that I'm not confident, but I don't have like a game plan set for ladder ops
Gotcha.
compared to like the search class that I'm just starting to put out into conferences now that I've applied to.
Awesome.
which
So you're active right now, literally trying to really just get yourself out there for teaching, to show what you have to give to others. And that brings me up to the next whole bunch of other questions is, man, how difficult is it to break out, to offer your services to others? I mean, let's just call it what it is. Like you're selling your label, right? You have a brand, you have your company that you want to promote, but there's a lot out there that are doing a lot what you're doing as well. So has it been difficult getting your applications in and getting actually accepted to classes, or to be able just like to go to conferences and teach hands-on classes, let alone a presentation?
so I applied to a bunch for this year, and I only got into Key City and March Mayhem, which thank you guys, that was awesome. Love to come back next year. Um, and I've done a couple for next year so far, but the pool there's a lot of companies out there, and I'm trying to hope. I don't really want to use FDNY, like, oh, he's a big FDNY guy, as like the push behind it, but I want it to be like, oh, so this guy has enough experience that he can teach us some outside the box shit.
Yeah.
Because our response area is vast, not in square footage, but in complexity and different types of buildings. Like if you look at the street across from my firehouse, you're going to see like 4 different types of buildings next to each other. And like nuts to butts, you'll have like a class 3 building, you have a fire resistive building, a fireproof building, and you're just trying to, for my area, it's very difficult to be a fireman on the truck company.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to push, like, I know my shit. I've been around the block a couple times. Not that, like, some guy from whatever department is trying to push his class, but I'm hoping that with what I have, I can be different from everybody else. But
Sure.
it's hard to like show that without actually showing you.
Well, I mean, you said it too. He's like, I don't want to sell myself as a big FDNY guy, but it is a sell point, because that people know that you do work. People know that you are working in these large buildings and doing this not just once or twice, but you're doing it like multiple times on your shifts. Every time you work, you're usually having to do something of those skills. And I mean, honestly, you've been taught by the best of the best. So you have that background, that knowledge, and that does help. But it's got to be difficult also, though, to teach it when you don't have an audience to teach. And you can do the job, but if you can't teach it, right? And that's the hard part, is like trying to break in to actually teach it, because we've seen instructors who are well versed and they have incredible experience, but if you don't get to actually do it, it's going to come off very foreign, and you're not able to break it down. Even if you get to do it, it's sometimes just not natural, right?
Yeah.
Like it is difficult. It's such a skill, I think, to be an instructor, and that's why I always take great pride in it, because you could call yourself an instructor, but if your students are failing, they're not picking it up, it's not necessarily their fault. It's how you're delivering that message. So how do you break it down? How do you make them understand what you're trying to deliver?
I try to teach it how I would like to be taught. I'm very like, point, show, make me do. This is how I would do it, and then I would make myself do it. So like everything that I do on my page is me doing it.
Mhm.
So when I went to the conferences, it was like I went through the motions with them. I showed them how to do it. I talked to them about it. I watched them do it. I corrected whatever they had to, if there was something wrong, corrected it. So my teaching was like, all right, just imagine everyone is me, and how would I want to be taught? And there's no yelling. We were goofing around. We were having fun, but it's, serious when we had to be serious. But,
Right.
I'm there to have fun and teach what I have to teach. And if guys are relaxed, they're a little more, apt to learning, unless they're like on guard, trying to be like, oh shit, I don't want to fuck up. But like, yeah, so I just how I would want to be taught is my teaching points.
Hmm. I love it. It's like I said, it's definitely every instructor is unique, and you can't just necessarily mimic or regurgitate what you've already been taught or try to act like somebody else. It's just not going to work. It's going to come off like you're a robot. And again, if you don't get to do it often, then it's hard. Like saying being a presenter. Like if you're not presenting, you're actively doing it, you're just not going to be good. You have to practice that skill, how to read the audience, how to walk the room, how to, not have your back to them or, literally try to actively not sweat over everybody. Like it's a nervous thing. And you have to practice it constantly, whether you're an instructor or presenter or, anything in that field. So do you feel that you've gotten more opportunities as you've now gotten to go to a couple of conferences? Have people reached out to you and say, "Hey, I really enjoyed what you taught us, and I'd like to have you in over our department," or has departments themselves reached out?
I did have a few guys contact me through Instagram, and I gave them my email. That they're like, it was awesome, and I haven't had anyone offer to, hey, come by and teach, but I've had some guys, maybe if you're in the area kind of thing, swing by. Or I've been like, hey, if you got some time, I can come out there and show you some more stuff. And they were, receptive to that. But I've definitely had a few guys reach out and, thank me for what I showed them. And they were pleased and grateful that I was there to show my knowledge. But yeah, they liked that I knew what I was talking about. Like,
Yeah,
not that I went on YouTube and watched a video and then went to teach them. Like I actually went through it. I've been to fires and high rises. I've, been every position in the engine at a high rise fire.
yeah.
So it's
So with that, like, do you go around with a notebook at work every time you've got these certain calls and like documenting that and writing like how, you remembering that? Or do you go back to your station after, certain calls and use that as your teachings? Because I do that a lot with all my thinking and reflection. And if I want to bring something back to other students, that's usually the calls I'm writing down in my book and like, okay, I remember this, or I like literally I screwed it up. So I remember now not having to do it again, but I'm going to teach that to others of how I screwed it up. I'm going to show you how not to do that. So you don't have to have that worry.
it's funny you mentioned that. I do, and it usually in my book bag that I bring to work is a notebook that I jot down ideas for uh an Instagram post or things that I want to add to the class or take out or change for the class. Like this notebook, is that thick and half of it's filled up with just doodles of all like layouts of stuff or how I can change something. But I also, I have my phone. So if I see something, I'll take a picture, I'll take a
Yeah.
video of it. Um, so far I haven't gotten in trouble, but I try and keep it as ambiguous as possible with that kind of stuff. No addresses, be
Yeah,
respectful.
exactly. So, do you also talk to some of your senior guys as well and ask about how to do it, or are you constantly picking their brains and letting them know like, hey, I've developed this training company and I want it to be really well, because honestly, you're also representing your department regardless, right? They know that you work for FDNY, and if you're out there teaching, if you're teaching crap, it comes back to your department like, yeah, that guy Jon doesn't know dick about dick, and he works for you guys. So like, do you reach out to them as well when you're on shift and like, hey, I'm going to be teaching this class. Can I show you what I'm going to teach, and can I present this to you guys?
Yeah, I've run it through both the engine and the truck guys, and they're pretty receptive of it. Most of them are like, "Oh, you fucking buff, whatever. Go do your thing, whatever you gotta do." But yeah, like with the standpipe stuff, I was sitting there picking the couple of the senior guys' brains about certain things, and they were either shocked that I knew as much as I did, or they had no idea because when I do the like I deep dive, I'm doing a lot of research because we don't have everything that everybody else has. So I need to make sure that I'm confident in what I teach for stuff that's not really applicable to the FDNY, but will be applicable to you.
Sure.
So there's certain valves and stuff that we have that you don't have or you have and we don't have, whatever the case is. but I did a shit ton of research. I have pictures. I went out when I go upstate on vacation or stuff. I'm taking pictures, and I'm always over there looking at the standpipe, like, what's going on over here?
Well, here's a question that you kind of hit on that, is that you're going to areas that don't have the manpower. They don't have the necessities. They don't have these tools. How do you not teach the FDNY way? Because that's going to be great, because you have all these people at your disposal when you're doing these jobs. But there's, like, in my department, we have 3 on a truck. So we don't have an overwhelming amount of manpower. And we might not have a lot of tools at our disposal. So how do you break it down to these classes when they have limited manpower or even limited experience?
It's that's probably one of the hardest things to teach, is when you get so used to it being one way and then trying to teach that way to somebody that doesn't have that manpower, or that, whatever the case, it's hard. But then again, I bring it back to I never forget where you came from. So I've figured, how would they handle it, and then adapt that to what I'm teaching. So, it's a lot of places the officer is stretching a line. FDNY, it's it's the end of the world if an officer touches the hand line.
Yeah.
Um, or the chauffeur. The FDNY, the chauffeur is, if he's pumping, he's at the pump panel. Other places, the chauffeur helping stretch, masking up, going inside. So I try and teach, like, these are the positions that you need. These are the positions that you don't. If you have it, it's awesome. It's great. It helps you a shit ton. Even in the FDNY, there's like 20 engines that have 5 man on it, not counting the officer.
Mm-hmm.
So that guy is the door position, and then the rest of the department, the engines don't have it. So it's like a good to have, but it's not necessary.
Yeah, because that's it's definitely important to keep that in your head, for sure. Because I've sat in classes, and I've watched guys come from bigger departments teach, and they're talking about how they have this at their disposal, and there's usually somebody who chimes up and goes, "Well, I don't have everything you have, so tell me how to do this without all of this and without all these people. How am I supposed to do this?" So that's especially, again, volunteer departments, because they might have, there's areas in volunteer department worlds where they have really big buildings, and they're going to have mid-rises, and they're going to have sprinklers, and they need to know how to do this. But because they're volunteers, they're not doing it all the time. They're dedicating themselves because they have their full-time jobs, and the calls don't come in as often. So that's going to be pretty difficult when you're teaching somebody how to do this, and they don't have, and sometimes it literally is going to be just the 2 of them, or it'll always be a different person that they're going to have to work with, because you never know who's going to be showing up. So that's going to be a whole different world to teach.
Yeah, for those, it's one of those high risk, low frequency type of events. Those are the ones, you can train on forcible entry all day. You can train on VSing, stretching lines, and that's great. You should be. You should be, like, well versed on that, but you should also be touching on the stuff that you don't do all the time. Like, how many places are, drilling on standpipe stuff every other day,
Mm-hmm.
or, once a month. Hey, let's go stretch a line off a standpipe. Even at parking garages, there's schematics out there where you can build your own standpipe. The firehouse, pretty much every firehouse in the city has some makeshift standpipe, either where they flow water through or use the compressed air.
So there are people who are listening. If you could, real quick, what are some basics that people could use or should have for their operations, or for the tools they would need to set that up?
So we use an acronym that tells us what needs to be in our standpipe kit. So we use Geno's CAP, which is very easy to remember. So the G is gauge. So pressure gauge at the standpipe outlet, that's huge. That helps you. If you can get a digital one, that's even better, because that'll tell you flow rate and pressure,
Mm-hmm.
which that's like looking at the flow rate and pressure coming off the pump panel. You can diagnose a lot of things with that, burst length, kink, and then you can figure out what's wrong from there. I would be like the increaser. N would be a nozzle, a second nozzle. So, like, if you short stretch, you can connect to the lead length nozzle without shutting down the line, taking the nozzle off, putting on the nozzle, or putting on the length, and then adding the length again. You just shut the nozzle off. We use removable tip smooth bores. So just take the tip off, connect the new line, and stretch it out. So that's a lot of places will have like a fog tip nozzle for a little hydraulic overhaul
Mm-hmm.
or like venting. O would be an operating wheel, which a lot of the buildings you'll come across in the city, the operating wheel is stolen, broken, missing. So we bring our own. Just if it's not there, we throw it on. C chalks, every door the line goes through, we chalk it open. A would be the adapters. So if you need, whatever from the outlet to your hose line, if that's a different thread type, it's not going to thread properly. So if we go into a building that we know, oh, this building doesn't have FDNY thread, we just put on the adapter and connect the line and go on. P, pipe wrench is huge. That, you get a frozen operating wheel, you can loosen it, take it off if you need to, if it's broken, or open up the outlet with it. The pipe wrench is universal in what you can do with it.
Sure.
And then S, spanners, you want everything spanner tight if you can. And then some places have this thing called an F tool, which is like a wrench that literally just looks like an F. And then you can put that in the operating wheel and use some leverage to your advantage and force it open.
Nice. And so you talked about earlier for pressures. What are the pressures you're trying to set?
So we do what would give us the optimum flow rate at the tip based on how many links we use. So we would be, I messed around with it with inch and 3/4 at Key City and March Mayhem because they didn't have 2.5. But, we're trying to do like 80, 90 PSI with, 3, 4, 5 lengths of hose. That gives you enough at the tip that you're going to get your gallons per minute that you need without, blowing yourself up with too much pressure and, a not suitable stream with too little pressure. So I like to teach them, start out not at 80. I like to teach them just a little bit under so the guys aren't getting beat up.
Mm-hmm.
And then the gallons per minute you lose by setting it just a little bit lower is marginal. And then if the boss is like, hey, up the pressure a little bit, all right, cool. Crank it open a little bit more. It's never a good look when you're like, hey, can you back down the pressure?
Yeah.
Because then, you look bad. Or you don't say anything, you go back to the rig and you're throwing elbows because he beats you up the whole flare.
What are some of the biggest mistakes do you think you see for the standpipe operations? What are some things maybe they're just missed when people are trying to set up their own thing, or when you talk to people when they're trying to explain what they do?
I think like flushing it, a lot of people didn't flush it. Like in my area, a lot of the places that have like project buildings or like the low income stuff, they tend to use it for garbage because they're usually like in the hallways or in the stairwells, and the stairwells you can come and go as you please. So flushing it is huge. Making sure that it works.
Mm-hmm.
I've been to a fire where they shut the OSNY off and nobody told. We're supposed to get a printout of every time like a standpipe goes out of service, and they never said anything. And we went to charge it. The residual pressure pushed the water out. As soon as we connected to it, opened it up, nothing.
Gotcha.
So the flushing not only pushes out the garbage, but it makes sure that it actually works.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like testing your nozzle at the door.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or flushing the hydrant. You open it to make sure that it there's no junk in it and that it actually pushes water out.
Absolutely.
And then setting the pressure when you're not flowing. So when you have the static pressure.
Mm-hmm.
So they will charge the line and then they'll open it all the way because they don't see the needle move on the pressure gauge, or they'll close it all the way and then they'll open the line and then it just goes flat. So that's why I'm trying pushing big on this, is because that's, a a huge issue if you get into the heat of things, especially if you're low manpower. You set it, you do the whole set it and forget it thing, and then you take off, and then they open the line, and either there's way too much pressure or there's no pressure at all.
Yeah, that's a good point. Absolutely. Those are good points for sure. And these are things that are valuable. I love that you're bringing them to the table for people to learn from. And again, like you said, you have things from your own experience. That's what you do is teach people from the things that you've learned, and whether your mistakes or others' mistakes, and help them not to make them.
Yeah. Like I think I taught at I think it was between Key City and March Mayhem, or March Mayhem and Key City. I'm sorry. I had a high-rise fire, and the first two engines stretched like there was a miscommunication, and they stretched too many lengths. And not that it was an issue, but they could have gotten away with one or two lengths less than what they had.
Mm-hmm.
So like
Gotcha.
I try and harp on like radio communications, which I try and get radios, but nobody's been willing to give me a couple radios. But like radio communication is huge in standpipes.
So where can they find you next? Where are you going to be? Do you have anything lined up?
I'll be at work tomorrow. So if they want to come by. Right now I guess you could say I'm in between conferences.